Yep.
Excellent. Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And I am wondering, have you ever find yourself stretched too thin at work or in business or at home? Do you ever have a sense that there is gotta be more to life than what you're currently experiencing? And do you ever feel like constantly maybe you busy but not necessarily productive? So joining this conversation today, we're going to talk about mindset and productivity, what works, what doesn't. And we've got the experts here, Leah, Walter, as well as Mark. So we are from all over the world. So we are a couple of us in Australia. Walter is all the way from Spain, and Mark is from Philippines. How wonderful is that? So join in the conversation, and you can ask questions. You can participate, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions you want. This evening, we're going to talk about the importance of having a daily habit or a daily practice or a ritual that can set us up for success. And why is it important to have a daily practice, to have a ritual, to have something that we do day in and day out that sets us up for success? Who would love to get us started? um, uh, who loves to get us started? Why is it important to have a daily practice and a ritual? Go ahead, Leah. Would you like to get us started?
I missed it. Who wants to start? Did you say something,
Yes.
Mariana? Because I was jumping
Would you
in.
like to get us started, Walter? Go ahead.
Okay, fine. Because I missed the last part, so I didn't know if somebody wanted to jump in. Okay, so hi Mariana, hi everyone, and thanks for this very exciting discussion. So the importance of the daily rituals, daily practice in productivity. For me, it's because when having a structure means that our brain has less work to do. So in the way our brain is built is that the brain doesn't really want to think about difficult things and taking difficult decisions. And so when we build rituals and things that we do every day, so we are simplifying the job of our brain. And that's why having a routine helps, because you know that at some point of the day you do the same thing. You don't have to take a decision. The decision is already taken, and your brain is already working on it. Your subconscious is already working on it. And so I saw the change in my productivity when I started to build a routine and a structure. At this short intervention, Mariana, I want to go around the table, or you want me to speak more?
We'll go around the table to see absolutely everyone's opinion, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss even further. So I really love what you're saying. You highlighted quite a few important points, Walter, and having a structure is really important. Leah or Mac, who loves to share next? Why is it important to have a daily practice and a ritual? Go ahead, Leah.
Well, as you were, firstly, thank you, Mariana, for making this space available and creating the opportunity to even just to stop and ask that question. I just notice how my state changes when I just focus on one thing. So thank you for that. Thank you. And I was thinking, you know, for me, I'm such I am really, what's the word, protective about so protective about my morning ritual, because I scare myself when I don't do my morning ritual. Like the repercussions for the rest of my day if I don't set myself up with intention, with consciousness. You know, that it's the consequences of when I don't do that that make the benefits of what happens when I do put that morning ritual in place. That contrast is what keeps me coming back for more. So, you know, you can read it in a book. Like, how many books are there that talk about the morning ritual and the importance of that, and having that be intentional and having that be multifaceted. So to set yourself up for success for the day. But until we do it and experience it ourselves, and even then it can be hard to stick to it, like once you fall out of that routine as well. So I think it's almost like that carrot and stick motivation principle, where it's almost the fear of what will happen to me if I fall out of my morning ritual for too long that keeps me coming back to it. So it definitely sets me up to have the most enjoyable day for myself. Like I have the richest experience of my day when I set myself up. So hope that's kind of added a bit of, you know. Yeah, thank you.
I really resonate with that, because I really resonate with that, Leah, because it's really important to be intentional. And you also brought into the conversation the consequences of not being intentional, because the day can, you know, the day runs instead of you running the day. That's what I've heard all day, Anna. Thank you for sharing that. Mac, what are your thoughts on having a daily practice, and why is it important to really have a routine daily?
Thank you, Mariana and Leah. Walter is also here with us tonight. So I think it is really important for us to have these daily routines. For me, I love how Leah put it in, like we need, you know, something to like really be we have to really be intentional on a daily basis, and it becomes the routine becomes the habit, you know. But for me, I'd like to add on to what Leah and Walter just said. For me, sometimes I use the routines that I have, my daily routines, as a trick. You know, I'm tricking my own mind that sometimes you feel you're unproductive, but because you have a routine, it seems like you have been productive for the day. So meaning, since we have been intentional and we have like a daily routine, we have like 1, 2, 3 things to do daily. Once we did that, we feel that we are not, you know, trapped in that, you know, personal struggle to be too hard on ourselves, like we haven't had or hit our goal on that day. But because we were able to hit and did the daily routine that we have, we know that we have moved at least one step for that day. And I think that's important for us to understand, that even if we feel that we are unproductive for the day, we are still productive because we finished our daily routine. So at least there's something to clap on, like a simple thing that at least I exercised, at least I walked this morning, at least I went out for the sunshine, and you know, that's something, and breathe in like good air, and that is good for my health. And that is a step forward always. So I just try to always embrace the fact that we should not be like too hard on ourselves. We are just, you know, because we are already intentional every day. All of us are intentional. It's just that sometimes we don't feel that way because we look down on ourselves more, and we should stop doing that. We should look at things and create daily routines so that we can like stop this kind of mindset, like first step, and be part of the system of being productive. So that's it for me. Back to you, Mariana.
Yeah, thank you, Mac. I really love what you said, and I totally understand what you're saying, because so many people are not necessarily celebrating. So they don't feel they are really successful because they don't have a daily routine, something that keeps them going. And they even say, even making the bed first thing in the morning, that sets you up for success because you already achieved something. You've done your bed. And there's been studied about this. So that's why it's so important to have a daily routine that sets us for success, and not to be hard on ourselves. And if we do have a daily routine, a daily practice, we do feel like we definitely achieve something straight away. Yeah, even if the daily practice is going outside and get a little bit of a fresh air and going for a walk around the block. So it doesn't matter what's the practice, as long as there is a practice that set us up for success.
That's right. And the thing is that it doesn't need to be big. It just had to be something important to you.
Yes, it has. That's right. Spot on, Mac, because it has to be important to us and it has to be something that works for us. And every single one of us has different priorities, and every one of us like different things. So it's important to do something that we love and what matters to us at the end of the day. But at the same time, that practice needs to move us forward, to feel like we are progressing, to feel like we are doing something. It has to really fulfill us at the end of the day. And some practices may not, but they are good for us, like running or exercising. Some people don't like it, and I didn't for a long time myself, but I know it's good for me. So since I've been going for walks, like I do 5.5 Ks, I really feel different. I even lost some weight, so that was amazing. I didn't think that I would do that. So, yeah.
Yeah. May I add something, Mariana?
Yes, go ahead, Walter.
On routine and structure, it's important because I hear this a lot. There is a misconception that people think that structure and routine is too rigid. It implies rigidity and lack of freedom. It's the total opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
yeah,
exactly. When I speak with my friends and they say you do this every day, but don't you feel like constrained in doing something? It's the opposite, because when I was feeling unproductive years before. It's because I didn't have routine and the structure. And then when I started to introduce daily rituals into my day, then it's liberating. It's like you have some constraints, but you also have the flexibility to, if something happens and you have to reschedule something. I mean, in the end, it's not the end of the world, but at least you have a path to follow, and that brings freedom and not rigidity. It's the opposite. Just wanted to add it because I see people scared by routines just because they think that it's lack of freedom. It's the opposite.
I totally get it. And where does this come from, Walter? I think it comes from culture and from school, that it had to be a certain way. And when people hear about that you need to structure and you need to plan and it's like there is resistance there. And anytime we have resistance towards something, that's a sign that it's actually the opposite. We gotta address that and do something about it. But most people think that no, it's not. That's not the case. So I'm wondering.
I've got a question for you on.
Yes.
Yeah, just on that resistance aspect. You know, what we know as coaches, that how we've been taught is what we resist persists. Now, that's often such a visceral feeling, that feeling of resistance. Like it's that gut feeling. It's like, oh no, energetically, often it's quite strong when you feel an energetic resistance. And how does that compare with the gut feeling? Like, follow your gut, trust your gut, trust your feelings. If your feelings say don't do it, then don't do it. So, you know, I kind of, I reflect on this, and I try to just kind of listen a bit more before I look for solutions. But I'm interested in what you all have to say about that whole thing of gut feeling and trusting yourself, right? And then sensing resistance. But what you're saying, Mariana, that what we resist, it's a sign that we need to keep moving in that direction. Is that what you're saying? So there seems to be a bit of
totally, but most people don't want. Anytime they feel the resistance, they don't want to go there. Because why? Because it's uncomfortable, and we don't want to do what's uncomfortable. So we rather avoid what's uncomfortable. And any time we attempt to do something new, like have a new routine in our daily life, that's not going to be comfortable. And as Walter said, our brain wants simplicity. Our brain wants what's easy, what's known. And then anytime our brain thinks that is something that's new, it's not known, so that's where the resistance comes in. So that's when it's like, no, don't do this, because that's not something I know. It's not comfortable. So it's like, why are you doing this? Why you want to go for a walk? You can stay in bed because it's nice and comfortable and it's really cozy. You can do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow never comes, so we don't do it. But with the gut feelings, that's a total different conversation, and we can speak about that for days. Why most people are not connected with their gut feeling is because of past trauma, and we dissociate, so we don't trust a gut feeling. So until we heal all that to be able to trust ourselves, then we'll be able to trust our gut feeling. So most people are unable to trust their gut feeling because they did experience past trauma that needs to be healed. So that's why they unable to
So
trust
how do you know that it's a trauma gut feeling versus a resistance because it's something new and different?
I would say that's total different feeling within our body that comes up. It's not the same feeling. It's like one, like even telling you in your head, don't do it, and the other one is like really visceral. Yeah. Yes, Matt.
Although me, what I try to do is I refuse to judge myself, so that strengthens my gut feel. So I really trust like my gut feel, and like, for example, connecting it to what Leah is trying to ask is, for me, there will always be resistance, but I don't look at resistance as resistance. It is something that maybe a different part of my gut feel is telling me, oh, you should not do that. Oh, maybe you have to like think more over, and not to jump on right away. So I refuse to like judge everything that's happening on a very detailed level, but more on looking at a macro perspective, if these things are aligned to the macro goals that I have. So that would diminish right away the fear of being wrong. That's why we are being trapped in a decision, because we don't want to be wrong, and we feel like, should I follow my gut, or should I like accept the resistance that I'm getting or the people around me is getting. So I refuse to judge myself and the things that I do, and I just look at the macro goals that I have, if these things are aligned, because it takes time for us to like really strengthen our belief with our gut feel. But that is something that is innate in us, and our daily routines can actually help us strengthen our gut feel. Why? Because if it's something that does not happen really, like you will understand, oh, this must be not that fit to what I'm trying to do, or there must be something wrong about this. This will really that's why it's important that we have daily routines. Again, it doesn't need to be like something really big, but it helps us to focus more because we have limited energy for the day. We have limited, like, time for the day, and we can only like do like work 18, 16 hours maximum for the day. So we just need to be more focused, and our daily routines can help us do that. And when our gut feel is like resisting and showing us things that it's like red flags from there, and on new things that are coming in, first it can be just excitement and not resistance. So it could be like something like this is really new to me, so an alien to me, but alien topics are exciting. So we just need to, so I try to encourage myself that, okay, so it must be something not be that bad. It came to like my attention, so this must be something that maybe the universe or the heavens or my friends has sent me so that I can be more productive for the day. So what is like in this particular thing or person or situation is trying to tell me? So that already like stops us from judging ourselves and the thing that's coming in our life on a negative perspective, but rather looking at what does this thing, circumstance, people, or a situation is like giving us, so that we can grow more for the day and be more productive. Thank you. Back to you, Mariana.
Yeah, totally, Mark. I am with you, because at the end of the day, we gotta train ourselves to, and by having a daily routine, that's the one way of training ourselves to trust our gut feeling. And as you said, when anything perceived negative, because that's not, the way I see it, there is no good and bad. It just is. But we make it mean as good and bad, and we live in this duality, but there's no such a thing. But if we ask quality questions, even when something that is uncomfortable comes within our life, within our day, by asking powerful questions, then we can shift that and be able to look what's here for me to learn, what's the gift in this experience that I'm having right here, right now. What can I learn from this to move forward and stuff? So that's really, really powerful. And go you for training yourself, because it takes time to really redirect your thoughts and be able to see things from a different perspective. So I really commend you, Mac. Go you. And I love the fact that you said I'm not judging myself, because I think we are, most people are we are kind of worst towards ourselves and the self-talk that we have, and that's not necessarily helpful, especially when we want to build a routine, a daily practice, and then sometimes maybe one day we don't do it, but then we talk really so bad towards ourselves. Then that's not going to help us in any way, shape, or forms. Walter, you wanted to share something. Go ahead. Thank you, Mike.
Just to add on top of this, of what Mark is saying, I think there is a component of humility. When you say we don't judge ourselves, you don't judge yourself, I think there is a component of humility, because in fact we shouldn't confuse gut feel with fixed mindset. When there is resistance, in my opinion, there is the resistance. People who have a fixed mindset tend to resist more, but not because of their gut feeling, just because they don't trust the new. And so that's why humility here plays a role, because people with a growth mindset tend to be more, with more humility, think about the fact that we can change, we can learn, and we don't know yet enough to say, okay, I'm like that, I'm not going to change. Concrete example, in my case, years ago, I was reading about meditation. I tried meditation several times. It didn't work for me at the beginning, but I didn't stop. And the reason why I didn't stop is because I said, if plenty of people are speaking so much well about meditation, who am I to say that it doesn't work for me? And then I kept trying. And then I think it's the humility, because I didn't trust myself. I said, I mean, I trust these people who say that it's good. And at the end, meditation now is part of my daily ritual, because it's really life-changing. It changed my life, changed my way of thinking. And the same with journaling. It didn't click with me, journaling. It's boring. Journaling was boring because I didn't know the benefits yet. But then with a bit of humility, I said, millions of people saying that journaling is good. Who am I to say that journaling doesn't work? So I want to journal. And now journaling is part of my life, and I will never stop journaling. I'm sure about that. So that's why I say the humility component is important. People with a fixed mindset tend to be less humble and, think that they know everything, and they say, no, this doesn't work for me. I'm like that. Then I wanted to add this on top of what you said, Mark, which was very interesting. Thank you. Over to you, Mariana.
I love that, Walter. So to be able to have humility, and I love the way you actually put it, because you didn't like it. You didn't like doing meditation, but then you realize that even though you didn't kind of sit with you well, you trust what others were saying until you trusted yourself to see a difference in your life, and the difference that it made in your life, as well as journaling and meditation. And I'm sure Leah will share that for her is definitely running, because she's running every single day, and she's been running marathons and stuff. I think the latest one was in New York. And that's really amazing. And I would say definitely meditation and journaling is one of the go-to tools that I have. The meditation I do every single day. There is no day that I don't do either a breathing exercise or a meditation in the morning and the evening before I go to bed, sometimes even during the day, even when I'm at the traffic or where I'm doing something, simply bringing myself back to my breath. So that made a big difference in my life. I used to be a lot more reactive and stuff. I'm not as reactive as I used to be anymore. I still do react. I'm only human, but I can see it. I can acknowledge it. I can sense it, and I'm not staying in that reaction mode as I used to be longer. Or so it's definitely changed my life as well. So it's one of the tools that I highly recommend. Yes, Leah, go ahead. Leah, you wanted to say something? You are muted.
Now I'm okay. Yeah. Yes, the daily rituals and the running. So the three things that as humans that we need when we give ourselves these three things every day, it helps us to have a better experience of ourselves. And so exercise definitely is the first thing. Exercise, obviously, what we eat and what we don't eat, and also importantly the meditation aspect. And that's something that I've really just reinstated this week, and I'm feeling such a difference in my capacity, in my sense of abundance, in my vibrational energy has shifted virtually immediately. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm noticing that such a simple reinstatement of something. So I'm not even doing a long meditation, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, but it's really affecting me, and I think, and in a good way. And that's because I am tuned into self-monitoring. So I'm getting excited about the fact that these tools and strategies that I have been practicing for many years, and I teach and coach my clients on, that really, when I say, when we do this every day over time, we do grow. Our capacity does grow. Our vibration does change. The results we produce, the ripple effect, the impact does change, and it changes for the better, as long as we stay in the game long enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
feel
love that.
grateful. I feel very grateful that I have felt an immediate lift, but that's not because I've suddenly started doing something. This has been a practice on and off for years, right? And in amongst everything else I'm doing, and the fact that I have a strong exercise-based routine, even if it's one thing, just do one thing to get started, to get a routine going. That's enough to get started. So I think that's really my message, that even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes of one intentional activity, that is a disruptor enough to start a different set of reactions coming after that. And I find that I marvel at just how such a small shift can have such a major impact on how I feel about myself. And of course, I'm going to make different decisions when I'm feeling better about myself. And that's why our feeling state is so important to nurture in those first breaths when we wake up.
Totally. I so resonate with you, Leah. That's really so important. And you touch on a point of gratitude and having the routine. And even though you haven't been doing this for you on and off, and you come back, you can see the difference because you had the routine there, and you do have an exercise routine and other practices that set you up for success, and you can see a difference straight away. And it's not something that you do here and there, it's something that needs to be done consistently and on a regular basis. And it's okay to drop some and come back to it, as long as there is something in place to set us up for success. And research have shown that even 5 minutes a day can make a big difference. It doesn't have to be a big, huge practice. You can start with 1 minute. You can start with whatever it is available at the end of the day. Now, for those of you watching, I love Shams. I love your comment. Flexibility, planning, and practice increases productivity. Definitely, because when we plan the day, we own the day. It's not the day owning us. So that's really important to when it comes down to planning, to be able to increase our productivity. Yes, so there is a lot of benefits and a lot of advantages and to having a daily practice. And that's I would say that's really essential. It's one of those things that really important to instill within our lives, to have on a regular basis. So
it's
yes,
as important as cleaning your teeth every day.
Yes.
yeah, that's a practice.
I
I don't know
agree.
why I thought of that.
I agree. And
Anchor it to something simple, but important in that personal care.
that's true. And just what you shared, Leah, that it doesn't need to really be something big. It can just be just one thing. Like, for example, last week we were celebrating here in the Philippines because after 70 plus years, it was the first time that we got like a gold medal at the Olympics. And I think that's something that we can learn from the athletes, right? The daily routine that they do, it strengthens the muscles. So if you ask, like, for example, our first gold medalist, like Miss Heidi Lindias, of course, she got like gold in weightlifting. You cannot, carry that weight with just a thinking and without any routines. You need to take daily routine seriously because it is a way of strengthening your muscles. Like for example, if you want to be strong in reading, you gotta make a decision to create a routine where you try to practice reading, practice speaking, practice being more sharp in your craft and being good in what you do. And that is something that you need to consistently do no matter like what is happening. You have to keep on continuing it. And I think sometimes, as what Walter said initially, that there are some people who thinks that when you have like a structure, when you have like a routine, you have a daily routine, it is like more of a wall that encloses you to be not to be more creative and productive. But what if it is not a wall? What if it is like a stair where every day it can like lead you like a step closer to the goal or to the mountain that you're trying to climb? And changing the narrative that way would give you like empower you more in believing that your routine is intentional. That's why you are doing like jogging for you every morning, Leah, is something that could lead you to success. Why? Because it promotes your health, it promotes like good blood circulation, and all these things like converge in the in the more in a more macro bigger goal of being successful. And that's very important. These athletes, maybe it's time for us to, I hope Kusal is with us today, because definitely he will give us inputs on daily routine and how it helps athletes to be very productive and very good in their craft. So yeah, let's look at our athletes now where they're enjoying the Olympics, and for sure the discipline and everything that they can share with us is something that is gold. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Totally, Mark. But the thing is, to get there, they had to have a routine daily and to practice daily for, I think some of them even more than 4 years, because some of them, they potentially started preparation way before the last Olympics to get to where they are today. Walter,
Exactly.
you wanted to say something? You want to say something, Walter? Go ahead.
Yes. No. I mean, no. I mean, if I may, yes. No, I didn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unmute myself. Yeah. Okay. No. Just to add on top of this. Okay. So what I can say is somebody mentioned planning in the comments before, and then I think that's the most important thing. So also the athletes, what they have, yes, is routine. They also have a calendar. It's important that our routines are also associated to a time of the day in which we do it, and it's in the calendar. Because if without a calendar, there are no results, because those things, if they are not scheduled, then everything else might get a priority on top of that. So the person in the audience that mentioned planning, probably this is the most important thing to have results, and to being intentional, planning the day, knowing at what time you want to do those things, also with some flexibility that life can get in the way, and you might have to reschedule things on the way. But calendar and planning is very important. On a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, any time spent on the calendar and on planning, in my opinion, is an investment and not a waste of time.
Yes,
that's true.
totally.
I agree.
Yes, because you see, I love what you actually said, investment. Because most people think that, well, it takes time. But it actually, when you take the time to plan, you actually create more time, because you know where your time is going and what you're doing and what's important to you, so you can prioritize that. But it all depends how we look at it. So it's really important to practice and to have that schedule, because what gets scheduled gets done. And it's totally true. And Sham say calendar is important. Totally. Thank you so much. And if any of you watching have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. And between 4 of us, I'm sure one of us will know the answer, because at the end of the day, we all experts in our field, and productivity and mindset and daily practices. One of those things that I think each of us in a way, I would say, fond of. And we, all of us, came to the realization that how important is to have a structure, to have a daily practice, to have a routine to set ourselves up for success. Yes, thanks, Sham. And I totally, Shams agrees. It's an investment. Yes, it is. It's an investment, totally. We are investing the time to plan a day, to plan a week, to plan the months, to plan the quarter, to plan the year, and especially for those things that we do on a regular basis. Yes, totally. Leah, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
I think that everything also comes back to the level of motivation of the individual, and the goals that people have or don't have. And I think that's why that's a really important point of clarification, that if people don't have things they want to strive for, then it's very difficult to anchor a behavior change or the motivation to take different and better actions is what's the consequence of doing that and consequence of not doing that. You know, if we were really driven by fear of consequences, then, you know, there would be no obesity in the world. People would take their medication. You know, if we did naturally what's always good for us as human beings, it would be a different matter. But the human condition is much more complicated than that. So, yeah, I think about the Olympic you know, participants, and I think about the winners and the ones that came so close. And then, you know, we have Melissa Wu, who 4th Olympics and her first individual medal in diving. She got the bronze. And I mean, wow. 4 Olympics, this is like 20 years, like she was 16 when she first came in. And so that's what and talk about staying in the game long enough. And that level of motivation. She also is someone who has 3 other businesses as well. So she's very entrepreneurial. And so I think working with your own and with your clients' level of motivation is really important, and to meet them where they are. And that's where articulation of the goals and the planning is so important. And then the morning routine, the ritual makes sense once you've got the goal and the you know. So yes. And this is where I think coaching and mastermind groups are so important, because that accountability factor is what helps us to keep coming back to focusing on what it is we say we want.
Yeah, totally. And you said something that's really, really important there, Leah. Motive, to have a motive, to have a reason. What's the reason that we are doing what we want to do? Because without a reason, there is no way that someone's going to simply get up in the morning and start running. So they gotta be determined. They gotta have they gotta really, as you said, what's the consequences? We gotta have a motive, and to really want to realize. And Sham saying yes, motivation comes through realization and importance of the goal to achieve. And that's what it comes down to. What goals, what do we want to achieve? What's the reason for really wanting to go after whatever it is for us, because every single one of us has different reasons for doing what we're doing. And no wonder that we all doing what we're doing to make a difference in someone else's life, to inspire and empower someone else, that they can potentially change their life by changing or shifting just one thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be this elaborate routine. And what I'm finding also out, the evening routine sometimes can potentially be even more important than the morning routine. To how we go to bed in the evening. Who's got experience with that? Who loves to share a little bit about evening routine? Yeah, go ahead.
Before I go on to the evening routine, I just like
Yes.
to follow through, give a follow through question with what Mariana has said, that once you get the reason why you do the things, you gotta ask yourself, how badly do you want it?
Oh, yes.
Right? How badly do you want it? Do you want it badly that you, even if you don't want a routine, a schedule, you will abide to a schedule because you want to reach your goal? How badly do you want it? Like after a year, Leah just said, 20 years. It took her 20 years. Even our athletes, it took us how many years, for us to finally get a goal. And if you want it that bad, it will really push you to to be more motivated. And motivation is something that should really come from within, because if it will be from someone outside, it will
It's
be
not sustainable.
yeah, it will just be good for a day or two or an hour or two, right? So that's why it's also important for us to audit our circle. What do we hear from our circle? What do our friends in our circle are telling us? That can you do it? Can you do that? Is it like be having a routine? Will it be like a cage for you? Because I love life and I just be spontaneous, and then what? After 20 years, you're spontaneous, yeah. And then what have you achieved? It's nice to really enjoy. That's part of it, the process, enjoying the process. But in being intentional and being targeted and focused is something else. It brings you to a different level, and that is something that we would like to propagate and promote, because we see that it is achievable. We see names in the internet, social media, people are very successful, a lot of them, and we feel happy seeing a lot of people that are being successful. So how can't I? So how badly do we want it, right? Do we really want it? We're willing to get on and do something that we are not used to doing, so that it will make us better. So that's the follow up question. So going to the night routine, I am more of a night guy. Now I'm a more of a night person. So in the morning, what I just do is when I wake up, I go out right away and do a little bit of sunbathing and walking a little bit and breathing just there, just being with nature for 5 to 10 minutes. Right after that, then I'll do my stuff. And at nighttime, I am more of a night person. I do my jogging at night. But what I discovered is every day I do jog. But in the past few days and weeks, because it has been really, my schedule is different. The weather is really that bad. The storms are here. So I discovered that if I did not, go out for a walk or jog at night, I feel a little bit more less energetic the next day. you know and that's why I believe that night routine are as important as the morning routines. It just it depends on what kind of person you are. So it doesn't mean that you have, because they say you have to wake up at 5 a.m., you do this, you do that. If you are not the morning person, even if you do that, it might just, hurt you. But of course, there are scientific basis that you have to really be, sleeping at night. Well, but of course, you find your own pace, you find what suits you, you find your own time, but make sure that of course you make health your priority. But for me, the night routine is very important. So I jog at night, and that's where I write down notes on the things that I would like to accomplish tomorrow that I was not able to finish for today. And I was inspired with what Walter has said, that journaling is like, for him it sucks before and it doesn't work for him. For me, I've been trying it too, and it's not working for me. But now that, so it's not just me who thinks that way. So maybe it will work for me in the future too. So I will try again to keep writing and writing and writing and start journaling again. So thank you for that, Walter. And I'm gonna challenge myself to asking again myself, how badly do I want to be successful? So I want it that bad that I want to go and jump into journaling after this.
Go you, Mark. Go ahead, Walter.
You know what? Also, Mark, what now I definitely know that I want to do it, because I discovered another benefit, which is the following. So I use an app for journaling. It's called Day One. It's a very good app. It's for Mac and for iPhone. I like it a lot. And they have a feature that every day they remind you of your entry of all the years before the same day. And this feature is fantastic for me, because every day, I know where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And that's fantastic. And that's sometimes now I don't feel like journaling. Usually I journal in a long form on Sunday morning. It takes like an hour. Every day I journal like 5-10 minutes, but not much. On Sunday morning, sometimes I don't feel like. But I think next year, when I want to know where I was now, because otherwise that's lost. I mean, my progress now, if I don't put it down, it's lost. And that's another suggestion that I give you. Think about in the future, when you read back in your journal, you can compare yourself, you can see the progress. And sometimes it's funny. I see myself like 4 years ago. Sometimes I laugh, I see, look what I was doing, perhaps not every day, but, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So that's another suggestion why I think you should journal. I think it's really beneficial journaling.
Totally.
I will definitely jump.
Yes. And
what's the app, Walter?
It's called Day One.
Day One.
So you can create different journals with different colors. They have tags. And also it's an important app now, has been bought by the company who owns WordPress. So it's also, an important app, because it's they also have now a good business relationship with WordPress. So and it's relatively cheap. It's probably $20 per year or something like that. So it's a cheap one.
Thanks for sharing. So self-question: what, when, and how to achieve, and how to handle time. Now, how to handle time. I think we can only handle what we prioritize and the time available to us and our energy at the end of the day. I don't think we are handling time, even though some people think they are handling time. I don't think there is such a thing. We only handle what we do and the time available to us and our energy. And Shams, thanks for sharing for that. For you is morning time is the best being fresh. Yes. And definitely if we have a good night's sleep, we feel fresh in the morning because we have a good night's sleep. And totally. I love that, Walter. I love your share. And Mark, your routine, it's fantastic. What they say, it's really ideal to turn off any like mobile, computer, anything at least an hour before we go to bed. And this is basically science shows that the blue light is not good, and it will interfere with our sleep, with the circadian rhythms. So I ideally, like my glasses, they do have the blue light filter. But ideally is to disconnect from any technology, not to be reactive, to read or meditate or do something else, journaling, write down 3 wins that you had for the day. Find 3 things to be grateful for, and plan the day, plan the following day, because that's where we are looking forward to the day, and we already got something to look forward to, wake up to. So we can talk about evening routines as well. So Leah, do you have an evening routine, or are you definitely a morning person? Can I ask? Is that okay?
Yes, my evening routine is not as tight as my morning routine, that's for sure. But the meditation, at least now doing that to bookend my day, that's already a new interruption, a new disruption to create a better routine. I must say that the putting the phone down earlier is definitely and it's perfectly doable. It's really just been this last week, it's been, you know, more intense because, you know, I'm following the Olympics late at night.
Well, there is a good excuse there. a good reason.
Yeah, and it has been messing with my
every
sleep.
4 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
every
goodness.
4
Thank goodness. Every 4 years we can give ourselves that. But I think that's the other thing is sometimes we have to get messy and feel the consequences. Like you let someone feel some pain, you know, that will spur them to take action. And I guess, you know, that's with ourselves as well.
And at the end of the day, even if, let's just say, there is a weekend, or there is that you're not necessarily or you're going away, you're not necessarily going to follow through with all the routine. Maybe you do some and you don't do some other practices, but consciously you get back on the routine because you can sense it, you can feel it, you can see that something is missing, that you know, was there and it's not there. When that's what I'm noticing when I'm not doing it. I notice automatically, well, I did not do it, I did not do what I was meant to do. So yeah, I definitely notice when I'm not doing my routine. Yeah.
Now, Mariana, we're over time now. So
we are coming close to the hour. So we are going to come back. So you guys feel free to definitely ask questions, because we are going to come back with mindset and productivity every single week. So you can put questions in the comments and we will come back and answer your questions the following week. And definitely, I trust every single one of you enjoyed this conversation and took some gold nuggets and something that you can potentially implement within your day, within your morning. And we can talk about daily practices and the importance of this for days at the end of the day, because there are so many practices that we can do to set ourselves up for success and to feel good within ourselves. There's so many. So I would love to ask every single one of you, what's the one thing that you guys took away from our conversation today? One thing. Who loves to share one thing that you guys took away from the conversation today that potentially you were like, you weren't necessarily thinking, were potentially thinking of that the way you are thinking about it now? One thing. What's the one thing that
I think for me, I think the Walter's comment about thinking forward about the consequences of not writing something today, because in a year's time you want to know what you were thinking a year ago, or that it's a different way of looking at of preempting a consequence. And again, it feeds into another line of thinking around when something triggers you or, sets you off, is this going to be important in 12 months' time or 5 years' time? But it comes back to finding ways to keep yourself doing these positive actions for ourselves. So thank you, Walter.
Yeah, totally. Mark, Walter, what did you guys take away? Yeah, go ahead, Walter.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was a confirmation that I'm on the right track because I see that we have many common things, about daily rituals, and so that's good. And then I liked the discussion around the why of what Leah said about why doing things, and also Mark what you said, the reason, the strong reason. That's something very, very important for me. The essence is probably, if I have to take conclusions from this conversation, is that one. That is, I also speaking about this, I'd recommend a book to the audience, Man's Search for Meaning, which doesn't seem a book on productivity. It doesn't seem a book on productivity. It's on the Holocaust, a story, but it's it's really there. You understand how when you have, there is a quote by Nietzsche in the book. He who has a why can bear almost anyhow. That's a fantastic quote. And there is the author that speaks about the logotherapy. I think it's called the logotherapy, and that so how having a meaning can solve so many problems in people that we don't realize. And then many illness and many problems, many productivity problems, the depression and the anxiety could be solved by just finding meaning and finding a why. That's why I like what you said, Leah.
Having
and
a
for the
reason.
rest,
It's having a reason, having a motive, having why we want to do the things that we want to do. What's the reason? What's what we're going to do is going to give us long term. It's not necessarily short term view. You got to look in 5, 10, 15 years down the track. What's the benefit from doing what we want to do? What's the reason? Yeah, totally. I'm with you, Walter.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
For me, it's like the things that I tried before that didn't work for me might still work for me now, because before I don't understand it that much yet, and I am not ready for such routines or such things. But now I can start on again, just like what I just said about what Walter shared, like in journaling. Maybe that time, the years before, it's not working for me because I don't have anything to write. Like, for example, it's just like, it's not yet the time for me. But now, because I want to, be really productive and successful, I am ready, like, to take on new challenges. And I think that's my really big take on tonight. Thank you. I always learn from you guys.
So you ready for it? Great point, Mark. Definitely. So thank you to every single one of you for being here, and thank the audience for listening to us and taking some gold nuggets. Thanks for being here with us. Join us next week at 8:30. That's Melbourne, Australia time. And if no one told you today, let me be the one to tell you. I believe in you and I appreciate you. So thank you for being here. Join us next time. Bye for now. Join in the empowering conversation. Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.